Welcome to the Get It Done podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy Ryan. Today we have Ben Coulibaly. He is Ben the Banker on all social media accounts, and he is a master of agent attraction. I'm super pumped to have him on, so let's get it done. Ben, what's up, my brother, man? Welcome to the Get It Done podcast. I'm super pumped to have you on because you are really a master of agent attraction. Like we were kind of talking about offline. You've had TikToks that have gone viral. You have 200,000 plus views on Reels. And you're somebody that's just crushing it in our space. And I'm super pumped to have you on. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm super pumped to be here and share whatever information I can share with you guys.
Hey, man, let's do it. So we mentioned some agent attraction, and that's something that I think is becoming much more, I think, prevalent in our industry and something that's really sought after. And I want to start this podcast out by talking about how do you do it? What would you say is your secret sauce? What makes an agent, a real estate agent, come to Ben the Banker?
That's a great question. And I don't know, to be honest. That's not a question I really think about. I think what it is possibly, I would say, is the relationship aspect that I try to build with all of my agents. I think that's imperative. A lot of times when I'm meeting with agents or talking to agents, we don't talk about business per se. We're not talking about rates. We're not talking about down payments on an FHA or conventional program. We're not talking about things like that. We're genuinely friends. We're genuinely talking about life. We're genuinely building a relationship. And I think that is the key right there. Any loan officer can come in and discuss what interest rates are, what the down payment is for a conventional and FHA program or a VA loan. I mean, we all have the same products for the most part. But what separates all of us, right? And for me, what's been the key is the relationship aspect.
Brother, I just love that because I think that that's something that, like everything you just said is, I think it goes against the grain with the way that most people are brought up in our industry. And a lot of times people want to say, well, listen, I'm going to do a lunch and learn. And we're going to talk about down payment options on FHA loans, programs, products, rates, costs, fees, things that honestly, for me, I've been doing this for 14 years, like way to put me to sleep. Like, honestly, I couldn't even sit through it. I'd have to get out and like, I don't know, go for a walk or something. Or like, I don't know, read a book. Like seriously, like I would do anything but listen to that. And I think that, I think for a newbie, that's great. But even for people that have been into it for a short amount of time, I think that everything you said about relationship, that's the way to do it. I think that people buy from people they know, love, and trust. And it honestly doesn't matter what the rates are or what the costs are or really what your, product mix is or offerings are. And that's just fire, brother. So what I want to do is the Get It Done podcast is really all about the come up story. And Ben, you have a great story of, moving on up in the echelons of mortgage. But you didn't start out that way. And I always love hearing people's story. As we build relationships, this is oftentimes the reason why people will go with you or not. And, we use Elon Musk as an example. He's a story from, making $1 million to being a billionaire and the richest person in the world. That's a great story. But we're focused on the 0 to $1 million, the come up story. Best place to start, Ben, is where were you born? What were your parents like? What was growing up early on in Ben's life?
Oh, man, great question. So I definitely attribute a lot of who I am and my success to my upbringing and my parents. So I was born in West Philadelphia, born and raised. Some of my days on the playground.
Oh my goodness, that's really great.
Yep. And my parents were born and raised in Mali, that is West Africa.
Wow.
So I came from immigrant parents. They immigrated here to the United States from Mali. And my dad, he initially landed in New York.
Wow.
Yeah, so he hated New York though. Hated it. He still talks about it to this day about how much he hates New York. It was just too fast for him. It
I
was just
believe
too
it.
much hustle, hustle and bustle. Dog eat dog city. So my dad said, you know what? I gotta move to a city that's a little bit slower and smaller. So he moved to Philadelphia, which is like a bridge ride away. And that's where, you know, he settled. And my mom moved over here as well, got married, had me. And you know, that right there, that's how Ben came about. And both my parents were just hardworking people. And that's really where I get my work ethic from. Both of them coming from nothing, barely speaking English. Only way to make it was to become entrepreneurs. My dad started off working at a car wash, and he realized really quickly that that wasn't the way to get ahead. So he quickly realized that in order for him to do something to get ahead in this country was to become an entrepreneur, to be self-employed, to do something for himself. So he had a friend of his who was a taxi driver. He didn't know how much taxi drivers made, but he knew his friend was, you know, doing pretty well for himself. So one time he drove his taxi, just one weekend, and he realized, hey, he can make a lot of money driving a taxi. And that's how he started, just driving a taxi. And then from there, he realized that, hey, he could buy taxis and rent them out to other drivers, other immigrants, other drivers who needed them, who couldn't afford them at the time. So that's how my dad kind of became, you know, an entrepreneur. That's how he came into the entrepreneurial world in the United States. And
Wow.
did the same thing for my mother. Opened up, gained enough money to open up a salon for my mother. My mom was very good with her hands, and she opened up a salon and hired other immigrants to come over, who came over and worked in the salon with her. And just both of them, they just kind of grew an empire. And then from there, my dad went on to buy taxis, to eventually moving on and buying real estate as well. So he is also a real estate investor. He owns multiple commercial properties in the United States and also properties back home in Mali. And that's really where my entrepreneurial spirit and work ethic comes from my parents.
Wow, that's really fascinating. Why did, I guess, what's it like in Mali? And why would your parents want to uproot themselves from where they're from to come to the United States? What was their why?
That's a great question. And you know what? That's something I probably should ask my father. But from the assumption, I mean, I've been to Mali before. I've been there 3 times. And Mali is a beautiful place. The problem is there, the infrastructure and the economy is very stagnant. And it's been like that for a very long time. So the opportunities even after you finish school there, it's just very slim. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of options. So for a lot of people, coming to America was the dream. Just being in America was the dream, because, you know, America being the place of opportunity. You come here and you actually do have the opportunity to better yourself. And unfortunately in Mali, and even till this day, there is no middle class in Mali. You either are rich or you're poor.
Wow.
And there isn't really an opportunity for people to work their way up through the middle class to, you know, the 20, 10, 1% in Mali. So that was their why. I feel like my father's why was, you know, I want to have a family that is successful. I want to be able to build something. Unfortunately, the country I'm in and that I'm from, the chances of making it happen is slim to none. So let me go somewhere where it's more likely, more possible.
Gosh, what I love about that, Ben, is that, you know, he came with nothing and not knowing the language or speaking English. And like, I mean, it begs the question, like, what's your excuse? You know what I mean? Like, he total disadvantage in every way, shape, or form. Yet both you and your mother, or your dad and your mom, both built businesses that are tough to be in. I mean, truly, like it's tough to be successful in the taxi business, and it's tough to be successful in the salon business. It really is. I'm sure there's a lot of people that open and close a lot of the time. So, okay, you have two hustlers as a mother and father. My goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that that's instilled in you. What was good about that and what was bad about it growing up in your early years?
What was good about it was I got to watch two people in my house really go after it every day. We see, I think we're in a day and age of like social media. We're kind of spoiled by social media in a way where we see the success, but we don't really know what goes into the success, right? I got to watch the process in my own house. And I think that's what's been the biggest difference for me. So that was the major plus. And also watching two people do it in an environment where, you know, you have a mom and a dad. Like I have both my parents, they're married, they're hustling, they're getting it. It was literally the example that they laid out for me to show what I knew, what I wanted for my future and how I wanted to be. And I think the bad side of it was just the amount of time that I could spend with my parents because they were so just getting after it. And even that, to an extent, I won't say that's too much of a bad, because at the end of the day, I knew very quickly in my youth that they were doing it for a greater reason. So when my dad was missing football games or basketball games, sometimes I knew he was out there working. Same thing for my mom. I knew they were out there working and making it happen. And I appreciated that.
Did you really? Even at a young age? I just find that it's tough as a younger person to respect that, because a lot of times, you know, as you're a younger kid, it's hard to see past yourself, really. I mean, it's hard to, like, I guess, build that muscle. And a lot of times people build that when they're, gosh, they turn 30 and they still haven't built it. I mean, I've struggled with it myself. I'm by no means innocent in that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but even at a younger age, you saw that. You saw the, you know, the end goal that, no, they're building something great.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'll probably say by the age of, I mean, in the beginning, yeah, you don't understand it. But once you really do, like, try to internalize and digest why my dad is not at games, or why my mother is not at games, or why they're missing certain things, and you start to look at the bigger picture, it makes sense. And as I got older, it made more and more sense. So in the beginning, yeah, it was definitely rough. It was definitely something that I had to, you know, you kind of get used to, because I don't think things were going to change. It did bother me, but I would say my early teens, I started realizing that, hey, if my dad wasn't who he was, I wouldn't be going to the best private school in the city.
Right.
My sister as well, my little brothers, we wouldn't be going to the best schools in the city. We wouldn't have the home that we have. We wouldn't be living the life that we do, which I would say was a very good life. We had our mom, we had our dad, we had a good foundation. There was never a night where we struggled or anything like that as children. So all that comes with a price. And I learned that really quickly.
That's super cool, man. I love that. Moving on to the high school years. So, and before we go there, actually, you know, a lot of people sometimes have, I personally do. There's a great man that I look up to. His name's Rene Rodriguez. He's a professional speaker and coach. He says a lot of times everything we do is to either heal our past or to honor our past. And I'm not seeing a lot of things that you need to necessarily heal, but maybe it's to honor. And a lot of times it's things that happen between your like 8 and 12 years old. What are you trying to honor? What are you trying to heal?
I'm trying to honor where I come from and the legacy that my parents have already laid out. So I would say that's the honor right there. It's just simply continuing what's already been laid out for me. And when you have that gives you a reason every day. And like you said earlier, what's my excuse, right?
Right.
I shouldn't have an excuse. I can't, there's no way I can look someone in my, like my father in the face, someone like him who came from not knowing a lick of English.
Yeah.
Coming over with no money and is going to, and is a millionaire, you know? I can't, there's no way, because he won't take any excuse.
I just love that. That's just, that's such a great why. It's something that, like, you're going to get up in the morning and, like, okay, got that. Like, it's just like, it's an automatic. It's something that, like, it's subconscious.
Yeah.
So, okay, take us to high school. So you are the son of two amazing go-getters.
Yeah.
So like, what's your first job? What was, were you involved in any sports? You're mentioning some sports.
Yeah.
First car, all that.
Okay. So high school, first car was a Nissan Altima. I got that senior year of high school. My first job, my dad put me to work really quickly. Around my, I want to say junior year, I started working at a restaurant as a dishwasher, as a dishwasher and a chef assistant. So I had to get my hands dirty. And I remember one time, like I was so tired at the end of the summer coming from that job, and my dad was like, "I put you in this job," because one of my uncles was actually the chef there, and my dad got me the job, and he said, "I had you do this job for a reason. Before you get ready to go off to college, I want you to realize what hard work really is." And I remember having to pick up dishes, heavy dishes, wash them, just do a lot of labor, and just being very tired and almost sick of it, to be honest. And my dad was like, "It's to teach you to be humble, but also what hard work actually is. And also the cost of doing hard work." That was the other thing. He was like, "The money that you're getting, you're making about $9.50 an hour doing this hard labor, but think about making that $9.50 an hour for that hard labor to raise a family, to eat for yourself, to live the lifestyle that you want to live. Think about those things as you go to college and you pursue greater things." And I'll never forget that. That was definitely a learning lesson.
What a great lesson. What a great thing to learn, in younger years. I think a lot of times people grow up with the silver spoon and then they get into the real world and it's tough to figure that out. Yeah. I think it's like, I'm sure you didn't want to have the dishwashing job, I'm sure it wasn't necessarily your favorite thing, but to have your dad push you in that direction and then to have you actually listen to him and do it, I think that's it's a combination of a lot of really great things and sets like a great foundation. So moving forward to end of high school, did you want to go to college? Was that kind of like your path? Or I guess what was after high school like?
Yeah. So one thing I did forget about in high school, I was a good football player in high school. I played so well that I ended up getting a scholarship to a Division III school. So I attended Bates College, and I was a philosophy major at Bates College, and enjoyed it. It was a great school. I had an amazing 4 years. I played football for 3 years. It was a beautiful experience. And yeah, going to college was definitely a thing. I always had dreams of going to college. I actually thought that I was going to go play Division I football. My dream school was to be a Wolverine, to go play for University of Michigan. That didn't happen. I wasn't fast enough, but still, it landed me a spot on a great team at a great school, and also being able to finish school with minimal student loan debt. So I was very grateful for that.
That's awesome. Philosophy?
Yeah, philosophy.
Why philosophy?
Oh man, why philosophy? I mean, honestly, I'm a critical thinker. I like to think critically. I like to ask questions that people don't normally like to ask. So
I feel like that's something that you'd want to do after you're 30 type of a thing. Like philosophy, right? Man, I should have done that. Yeah. But as a young kid, I mean, I can't imagine myself. Well, I don't know. I maybe I was just different, but yeah. Maybe I was just young and immature. I mean, I was young and immature. That would be literally the last thing on my mind. Yeah. At that age. But that's what you went through, and playing football too. I mean, you had to have been the only person on the football team going for philosophy.
I think I was maybe. I think there was two of us.
Okay.
Yeah, there was another. Yeah, Sean was a philosophy and religious studies minor. So yes. Yeah.
So all right, you're done with college. Did you graduate? Did you get a philosophy degree?
Yep, I graduated. Yep.
Awesome, man. So what take us from there? What'd you do? How did you enter the workforce? Did you use your degree? What happened after college?
Obviously, I didn't use my degree. But there's no shame in that. So I graduated college with, I mean, what, a little over a 2.0 average. Like I didn't do amazing in college, to be honest. I mean, you know, and I like to be transparent with people about things like that, because I think a lot of people think to be successful, you know, I met people in college who studied crazy for the final exam to get an A+. You know, maybe they had dreams of going to grad school, things like that. For me, being that I watched my parents make it from not having any degree, I value education, but I knew education wasn't the only way. I thought maybe I would go back to school and study law. I didn't really want to do that. I knew if I did it, it would only be because, you know, that is the road most taken by people who are philosophy majors. My passion was real estate. I had a love for real estate since high school because I watched my father grow an empire through real estate, and through being an entrepreneur and a business owner. So my senior year of college, I came across a mentor of mine, and I struggle remembering his name because we literally only had one conversation face to face. But he asked me, he was very impressed. He came to a football game. He was very impressed with how I played. And he was like, I'm so impressed with who you are. Like, you're not just a football player. You also do have, you know, a great way of expressing yourself. You seem like a great person of intellect. And, you know, what do you want to do after college? And I told him, I said, I want to get into real estate. That's my passion. I think I'm going to be a realtor. I think I'm going to get my real estate license. And he was a commercial real estate investor as well. Big commercial real estate investor. I'm talking like multimillionaire. And he said, you ever thought about getting into financing real estate? And I looked at him funny. I said, financing? What's that? Financing real estate? I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, I know it's a thing, but I thought you just go to the bank and get a loan. And he said, yeah, you do. But there are people in place to actually help people qualify for mortgage loans. There are people, you know, brokers, bankers. You should look into that. And me not knowing anything about that, went back to my room and looked it up. And lo and behold, there were companies paying people right out of college, students right out of college, to come and take classes and get licensed as MLOs. And I was like, oh, wow. That must have been the reason why he told me, because he knows there's a huge demand for younger loan officers. So I just started filling out application after application, started getting interviews, and landed my first MLO job as a call center MLO for JG Wentworth in Philadelphia.
No way, JG Wentworth? That's
JG Wentworth.
Yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, okay, that's really awesome, because I had a similar start of, I basically I was just given a phone and a desk, and I'd bring my own computer in. Like, I mean, like no money was really given to me. And here's some Lending Tree leads. Give them a call, and hopefully you do good.
Exactly.
What year did you get licensed?
2017.
Got it. So JG Wentworth. I love that, and that's not that long ago.
Yep.
Wentworth. And so I guess, what's it like working at JG Wentworth?
Oh, man.
I mean, is it like, okay, just, before you even say it, here's how I would imagine it. It's just a boiler room type of atmosphere, like call center type of a thing. And like everybody's like, I got one. Like, is it just like 1,000 people in a room just yelling and screaming?
Not 1,000, but almost 100. And everyone is, yes. I mean, it was a very intense environment. I felt like I was on a Wolf of Wall Street.
Right.
You seen that movie? Yeah, that's how I felt like. I felt like I was on Wolf of Wall Street. It was a very competitive environment. Everybody was trying to lock in a rate, get applications back, things like that. And honestly, for me, that wasn't an environment that, you know, it was an environment where I learned a lot from a lot of the top producers, and was able to get my feet wet in the business. But in terms of being in a cubicle and just making calls all day, that wasn't for me. It just wasn't. I feel like for a lot of millennials, I mean, if you put any of us in a cubicle and just say, hey, make this call and tie us to a desk, a lot of us are going to burn out either because one, we're tired, or two, because we just don't like it.
Right.
So for me in the beginning, I was doing really well, but for me, I wasn't passionate about just being on the phone. I wanted something greater. I wanted relationships. I didn't want to just be very transactional.
How long did you last doing that?
7 months.
So I have to imagine though, because I lasted a while. I actually enjoyed making the calls for whatever reason. And there are weird people like that. I'm definitely weird in the category of I like being hung up on and told to never call again. Like whatever.
Yeah.
That's weird. But but the amount of knowledge that you learn in 6 months of doing that, I think is I think it's not replaceable. I don't think that you could really get that knowledge anywhere else.
100%.
I guess what was your biggest takeaways from working in that environment?
And that's a great point that you brought up, because in that environment, I learned the most in the beginning. Taking rejection. That was number one. Learning how to take rejection, learning how to deal with rejection, right? Learning how to originate in general, learning how to originate and not with my own leads, right? Because retail world is a lot different. Sometimes you can't afford to lose a deal, but in a call center environment, getting the leads and being able to deal with rejections, answering questions, being able to learn how to structure a deal, right? Not every deal is going to be clean. Not everybody is going to have the perfect debt to income, the perfect amount of money that they need for down payment, or even on a refi, especially refi. I think I became a whiz on selling higher rates on refis. To be honest, that environment, it gave me all the skills that I needed to know, the foundational skills to be the loan officer or banker that I am today.
Well, because you have to figure it out. There's a lot. Exactly. You're right. Most people that are in the lead world, and JG Wentworth, that's kind of, it's get cash now or get cash today. It's kind of like the whole thing. And but that's going to be geared towards more to somebody that maybe doesn't have the best of credit, or maybe is maxed out on their credit cards, or maybe is like a lot of different things. So you have to figure out ways how to make that happen. And you're doing FHA loans, you're doing cash out refinances, you're doing whatever it is. And you're selling a higher rate, but so what? It's a lesser cost. Get your credit right, and then refinance and do a rate and term, and that's more of the long-term strategy. Exactly. And I'm sure that's really what it was all about. But take us out of that. So, like, look, you learned a lot right then and there at JG Wentworth. Did you know that you wanted to leave? Did you get recruited to go somewhere else? How'd you exit? How'd you get there to get to your next place?
Good question. So yes, I definitely got recruited. I was looking for my way out, to be honest. I was kind of like, okay, if this is what JG Wentworth has to offer me, and I'm extremely grateful, took the classes, got licensed through them. But for me, it was okay. 7 months at a call center, it's very just, churn, burnout. That's how I felt. I said, you know what? I think I can do better in this business. First, I was thinking there has to be more to this business. And I know if there is more, I can do a lot better if it was more relationship based, like face to face, not just me being in PA and calling someone in Georgia or California or Florida saying, hey, take this rate, So I was recruited by a friend of mine who left JG Wentworth, and she was going into retail banking for Key Bank. And she told me about it. She said, hey, Ben, the type of person you are, I think you can really kill it in the retail space. And at first I was concerned, I was a little bit, scared, like, okay, should I take this jump? I mean, I'm still fresh in the business. It hasn't even been a year since I've been licensed. Am I really making the right move? And also trying to explain this to my parents, because my parents don't know what the mortgage industry is about. So after 7 months, you graduate from college and you're already trying to jump ship. To them, it's like, immigrant parents is like, what? You haven't even really given this time. And I said, I have, like, I don't really like it. So let me go and see how, retail lending is like. And that was my first experience. I want to say, that year. So that year finished 2017, 2018 was when I got into retail lending.
So What was that like? So, I mean, that's a major shift. And a lot of times people will maybe be a hybrid LO. They'll buy leads and refer out. Some people just rip the Band-Aid off and just go all in on retail. What was your, I guess, way of it? And then what, kind of assuming that you're going to go into the, I don't know. I'm assuming. I don't want to assume. Did you just go all out? Did you rip the Band-Aid off?
Yeah, I went all in. I went all in into retail. One thing that I will say though is working with a bank, what they did was they gave me a base salary. I think my base salary was like 35. It wasn't much at all. And then I got commission on top of that. But the commission wasn't much. I mean, we're talking like 50 bips per loan. Which I realized was not much. Later on, I realized how little that was. But me coming out of college, not having any debt, still living with my parents, thinking, oh, if I make 40 or 50, I'm good. I can still, enjoy myself, go do whatever I want. And, first purchase I made was a BMW, a pre-owned BMW. Like I felt like I was a big shot, making money, not having any debt. Like,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So yeah. So I ripped the Band-Aid off and just got going with it. One thing that I did love was the relationship aspect of the business. I got to build relationships with clients. At that point in my career, I didn't know how to build relationships with realtors. I did not.
So I want to transition into that. I think developing relationships with clients is great, but it's not scalable in a sense. It is and it isn't. Like, you can get people to like refer their friends and family, and like that can absolutely blossom. But I think the number one best way to grow your business as a mortgage loan officer is going to be to get a lead provider, and then several of them being real estate agents or financial planners, insurance agents. There's a lot of different ways. But that's kind of the route that you went into. And hey, you should probably do it. Close the blinds.
Yeah, let me do that for you.
Love it.
Yeah, is that better?
Just close them all the way. It's kind of like making you look like a zebra.
There we go.
That's perfect. Yeah,
perfect.
That's perfect. That sounds good. And we have editors. We could edit stuff out, but I actually like the realness of leaving stuff in. So we're gonna do that. So moving into. I want to get to agent attraction, but it doesn't start there. It starts with, hey, look, I'm going to call 40 realtors on a Monday type of a thing. And in following the DSP, mortgage marketing animals, there's a lot of people that will attest to that. And I think starting out, it's a great way to start. So let's go into that. How did you do? I guess, what was your version of that? How did you get to the point where, hey, I'm working with a bunch of realtors that are sending me business?
Got you. Yeah. So 2018, got into the retail market, didn't really know how to scale my business. I was doing about not even consistently. I was doing about 2 loans a month, not consistently either. Probably every other month I was closing something because, being fresh out of college, no debt. I'm thinking I'm fine. Hey, I got my base salary and I'm making money when extra money when I have to. And then I decided that from Key Bank, I was going to make a move, that I was going to leave Philadelphia and move to Atlanta, which was a big move. That was going to be the first time being able to say, hey, yeah, I'm jumping the nest, but it's not for college. It's to actually live on my own, pay bills and things like that. So I moved to Georgia about I want to say 2020, I believe. I think it was 2020 when I moved to Georgia. No, sorry, 2019. I moved to Georgia in 2019. Yeah. So moved to Georgia, and that's when I started realizing that life wasn't cheap. making 35 base salary plus, whatever I'm closing is not enough, not for the lifestyle that I want to live.
Right.
So I made a transition to PNC Bank, is who I started working with when I moved here to Georgia. And that's when I started realizing that being able to scale my business in a actual bank environment was going to be a little bit hard because of the customer service side of things.
Right.
And unfortunately, because I was going to leave PNC anyway, but PNC decided to let go of all of their field loan officers when I got there. So when I got there, literally 6 months later, PNC decided that they were going to change out their whole layout about how they sell mortgages, and they were going to let their in-house bankers sell mortgages and let go of all of us.
Wow.
Yeah. So imagine coming into a new city and 6 months later, you don't have a job.
Wow.
That's what happened to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's brutal. I mean, that's just our industry. It's unfortunate, but that's just our industry. There's a big, it's a high turnover, and it's dog eat dog in a lot of ways. And PNC back in those days, in that year, hardcore recruiting everybody. I remember I had a different PNC recruiter calling me on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And but I mean, that's just a great way to perspective, is that, like, look, if they're quick to hire you, they'll be quick to fire you too, you know?
That is true.
So, all right, you're kicked out. You're fresh in a new city, Atlanta, which, by the way, I bet that's got to be a great move, though. Coming from Philly to Atlanta, I bet you that was a great transition. I'm sure you loved everything else about it, but now, hey, I have bills, I have an apartment, I have a place to live, and I don't have a job. What next?
So I started to kind of figure out exactly what I wanted out of myself in this industry. And I said, hey, I want to be the best MLO that I can be. I want to be those MLOs that are making six figures, you know, and possibly in the future, the millions. So after PNC, I decided to stick with it. I think after PNC, I kind of had to play with myself a little bit in terms of deciding what I wanted for my future, because I think in a time like that, a lot of people would have quit altogether, would have just left the industry. I mean, you have bills to pay, you have things that you have to do, you have a car note, you have everything, and you're living on your own. Do you really?
You graduated college, you have a degree.
Yeah.
You know?
So you can either go and work a regular 9-to-5 job and make a salary, right, or get paid by the hour, or you can stick this business out and make a killing, potentially make a killing. You know, nothing is guaranteed.
Right.
So I said, you know what? I'm going to stick it out. I think there's a reason why I'm supposed to be here. I just remember my mentor telling me, hey, do this. And I felt like, you know, I'm in the right place. Like, let me just not give up. Let me keep going. So I went back, you know, into the industry and decided that I would, you know, after even receiving my severance, I said, you know what, I'm going to go back into the industry and find a lender that will, you know, help me build my business. So I went in, I didn't work for a bank. I actually worked for a lender. CMG Financial was the lender I started working for. And I was still doing 2 to 3 deals a month. That was like, if I did 3 deals in a month, I felt like I had a good month. Making, you know, 120 basis points. I was like, okay, like I'm having a good month if I close 3 deals. But mind you, I'm busy trying to close those 3 deals. I'm struggling to close those 3 deals.
Right. I get it.
And also the other thing is, to consistently close 3 deals a month, I'm also spending money, because I'm like, okay, I need to buy leads. And that's what I'm thinking. My mindset was, if I want to be successful, I need to spend money. And that was for me, man, if I could go back and I probably spent thousands of dollars on buying leads, a lot of leads that never converted, a lot of leads that never went anywhere. And also, when you're desperate around those times and you have a bunch of random people calling you from LinkedIn saying, hey, I can help you grow your business, or you're seeing ads online and saying, hey, I can help you grow your business, you kind of, you know, you become that bait, right? You kind of get baited into whatever they're selling because you're struggling.
I mean, a sucker's born every day, you know. I mean, you kind of have to get burned before you learn the lesson. Me too, though. I've spent $800 on somebody to set up leads. Didn't get one lead ever. I was literally totally scammed. So and it happens a lot to people, you know. I mean, and you're in that situation. It's kind of emotional, so you want to go for it. So all right, you buying leads, 3 deals, and you're processing them too. You know, I mean, you don't have an assistant.
Yeah.
Can't afford one.
Can't afford one.
You're doing everything, literally everything. How do you get out of that mess?
So that was pretty much me for about a year. I want to say a year and a half, up until the end of 2019. I saw one of Carl's videos on Facebook. And again, me baiting into trying to figure out how I can grow my business because I feel so stagnant. You know, doing 3 deals, doing 2-3 deals a month is not cutting it. I mean, it's doing something, but it's not cutting it. So what can I do to become the, you know, these loan officers that are, you know, making $250,000 a year? How do I do that? So I saw one of Carl's ads, and I just remember vividly just the money that he had out on his table. And he's like, hey, have you ever seen, I think it was $30,000 or $40,000 cash that he had. And he said, how would you like to make, some people make this in a year, but how would you like to make this in a month? And you can do it as a loan officer. You can make this type of income. And in my head, I'm like, is that like, I know it's possible, but just because I haven't seen it, it was just like, I just couldn't fathom that, right? So at the end of it, he says, hey, schedule a free training call, a free coaching call. We're not going to ask you for anything or anything like that. We just want you to schedule a call. If you feel stagnant in your business and you want to grow and you want to potentially become a big producer, schedule the consultation. So me, again, falling for the bait, right? Because I'm just trying to figure out a way. I scheduled a call. And when I tell you, doing that was the best decision I could have ever made in my whole life. Scheduling that call, because even though I was sold multiple times in the past and nothing really, you know, turned out well for me, I scheduled that call, and a week later, Mike and I spoke. And Mike was one of the coaches on Carl's team for the mortgage marketing animals. And that, I want to say, was a 30-minute or 1-hour call. Literally, it just clicked. Like everything in my head, my way of thinking about the business was the problem. That's what it was. I thought that in order for me to grow my business, I had to spend money. I had to buy leads. I had to spend money with realtors. I thought I had to put in a cost in order to get the business. But in reality, my issue was I wasn't building the relationships with the right people in order to build my business. And also getting leads, it's, you know, nothing horrible with that. But one, you can't build a business on leads. You can't. There's just, Mike told me only 1% of leads convert. So if you get 100 batch of leads, only 1% will convert. But if you get a referral, if you get 100 referrals, statistically speaking, 25% of them will convert. So what would you rather prefer? Would you prefer a batch of leads or a batch of referrals? And it just clicked for me. Everything changed. And I said, okay, that's my mistake. Why am I doing that? I knew why I was doing that, but it was lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding, and also maybe also a little bit of fear as well, right? Why am I not reaching out to realtors? Why am I not trying to get referrals? Why, when I think about all the deals that I've closed in the past, most of those deals were referrals, not leads, even though I was spending thousands of dollars on leads. And it clicked for me. After that, I was just like, okay, I need to put whatever game plan that I had initially, I need to put that to the side. I need to throw it in the trash. And I throw it in the trash. This new game plan that I have, go execute this. And when I tell you that, so that was the end of 2019. In 2020, this past year, no, that was the end of 2020. I'm sorry. This past year, 2021 was my first 6-figure year in the business.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's really cool. Well, and shout out to Mike Kardashian. I've done the strategy call as well. I tried to Google it while we were talking. It's free. I think it's free. Gosh darn it. We're gonna have to put a link to it, but I kind of want to see just if it will pop up. I think it's freecoachingcall.com. I'm totally gonna try to get to it. And no, that's a domain that you can buy for $2,000. But anyway, Our good friend Mike Kardashian is a previous Get It Done podcast guest. I love Mike, by the way. We're bros. And I did the same thing, and I did it, and I told him, like, this is what I'm doing. He's like, Jimmy, keep on doing that. That's great. And we just ended up talking shop for an hour, and ended up talking more afterwards. He's just such a good guy, and so are all the coaches at MMA. I think that's just a great organization.
Yep.
And I think that it's great because you can hear straight from Ben the banker that, you know, you can absolutely, you know, go from onesie twosies to closing a higher volume and making a six-figure income. And brother, that's just beautiful. I want to talk about Instagram and TikTok for just a second. So, like, man, you've had some pretty good success with 15-second videos, you know. And I think I want to point that out because, look, we're doing some long form content here, but what would you say is your secret sauce? Why do you have some TikToks that have like hundreds of thousands of views?
People need the information. I think that's the key. I think that I don't even think it's a secret sauce. I think it's just a matter of putting the information and knowledge out there. People want to know how to buy a home. And us as MLOs, we have the key to it. I mean, I love realtors and all. We need realtors. They're amazing. They are a critical part in the home buying process. But realtors don't get paid if there isn't money at the table. And not everyone has cash. So we are the pivotal point in the process. We are the pivotal the pivotal I would say person or professional in the process.
Right.
And there's no secret sauce. Just putting out information. And funny enough, I had a friend of mine who she was very successful with her social media. She has over 200,000 followers on Instagram and over 500,000 on TikTok.
Wow.
And I actually spoke to her about putting information on TikTok before TikTok became like this huge, massive thing. We were all, quarantined then, but everybody was, I was a viewer on TikTok. I wasn't like putting out any content. And I asked her, I said, hey, I kind of want to do something with social media. I just don't know how to do it. I want to do something on social media. I don't know if it's Instagram. I don't know if it's TikTok, but I want to do something. And she told me, she said, why not just put out the information about buying a home on TikTok? Like there's short videos. People have short attention spans. Take little information that valuable information that about buying a home and put it on TikTok. My first video did 8,000 views. The second video did over 100K.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane numbers.
Yeah.
And I mean, just for information that you already know.
Yeah.
And I think that's key because I think a lot of times as loan officers, and here I've been in it for 14 years. A lot of times it's kind of like my second language. Like I know it and I feel like everybody else knows it. Yeah. And that's just the wrong way to think. You got to be like, look, if you have knowledge in your head and you provide that value to people, I mean, it is value. And people will watch, and more people will watch, and they'll like it. And and let's just say you don't even get a loan out of it. You actually helped somebody, and I think that's really what the key to it is. So I want to hear. I already know the answer to this, but I just want to hear it from your mouth. Have you ever closed a loan off of a lead that came from TikTok?
Of course, yes.
I love that. So like, I think that's something that somebody that is in the older generation, like you just basically said an oxymoron to them. Like it just does not make sense. Why? I guess here, moving forward in the future, do you think that's going to be more prevalent? And I guess, how do you actually execute on, I guess, capturing leads from short form content like TikTok?
Got you. And I'm still working on perfecting it. I mean, I'm still fairly new at, with the following that I have on TikTok and the amount of views that I get. So I'm still trying to perfect it. But pretty much it's I use social media in two ways, right? You know how I had the call with Mike and him telling me building relationships, right? I use my social media platforms to build relationships. I'm not using it to really say, okay, I'm going to put out this video and I should get a lead out of this video. That's not my mindset. That's never been my mindset. My mindset is, okay, let me put out content. Let me sound like a professional. Let me, you know, and I'm taking, if you see my videos, I mean, I look very normal. I have a hoodie on. I'm in my car. I'm doing like, I'm just literally just putting out information that's just valuable. And when you do that, people automatically just, okay, he's the professional. Like he knows what he's talking about. And then when you go to my Instagram, I'm showing you the kind of like the end of the process where everyone's closing. I post my closings. I go to as many purchase closings as I can. And not only to show people on my platforms that, hey, this can be you, this is possible, but to also do what? Build relationships. I'm meeting the attorneys, I'm meeting the other agents. So it's just a cycle for me. I'm using my social media to build relationships, to then build even more relationships. And when people come over and they say, okay, hey, who are you? Okay, I'm Ben the banker, right? That's my trademark name. Ben the banker. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok. And they see that, they go, oh wow. Like they see the following. They see, you know, the amount of views, they see the success, and they go, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. So even when I'm talking to realtors, right, in Atlanta, I'm not, you know, just going, hey, you know, I'm just another lender who can sell you the, you know, the best rate and make sure I get you to the closing table and all of these things. No, I'm going to talk to you about your life. Let's talk about your goals. Let's talk about your vision. What do you see for your future? What do you see for your business? And how I can help you do that for your goals and your ambitions, because you're not just a realtor. You're a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, right? You might be involved in some charity work. You're bigger than just that. And then I'll let the platform speak for itself, because after you get to know me as well, you're going to go. That's what a lot of people do nowadays. They don't just speak to you. They go Google you, right? They go on your Instagram. They go on your TikTok. So they'll go look you up and they'll go, oh, wow. Like this guy really is like the real deal.
Well, that's the thing too, is that I think that a lot of people struggle with social, because I think my Kyle Draper, who I'm a huge fan of and is somebody that I follow and actually I work with a lot, is he says, look, if the person that you actually are is different than the person that you are on social, you're probably going to struggle with social media. And Ben, just like interviewing you, like you're the same exact person as you are on a TikTok.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of people really do struggle with. They try to make it a sales thing. They try to make it or like, hey, I'm just so untouchable. You know, I'm in this suit and tie and like talking about mortgage terms, and like, you couldn't possibly understand this. Let me, you know, explain this to you. No, you're kind of coming at people like, hey, I'm in a hoodie with you, like just hanging out. And I think that's just a huge thing. And all right, so I have a couple questions that I ask everybody that comes on. I want to make sure that I get these out.
Okay.
I really love this interview. So, all right. Do you feel like you ever had a big break?
A big break as in a break from working?
No, just like a big break. Yeah, working, big break, anything in your career, in your life, just something that like, man, I had this big break and this is when it happened and this is what it was.
Oh, definitely. In my career? Yeah, definitely. Last year, 2021, was it February? Yes, it was no, not February. It was in March. I had the biggest check that I've ever seen in my mortgage career, and to me that was my biggest break. When Carl was talking about, you know, the $30,000 cash on his table, on his counter, I was grateful enough to be close, very close to that. And I would say that was my biggest break. That was my biggest break. Yes.
Bro, that's fire. I love that. That's super cool. And you just saw it on a Facebook post like a year earlier. Like it wasn't even
a year. It was towards the end of 2020 when I spoke to Mike. That was in November. So that next year, so 4 or 5 months later,
wow,
I was closing 7-8 transactions a month.
Wow, that's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
shout out to Carl White and to Mike Cardacia. That's super cool. Huge.
Yeah.
That's awesome. If you were to do it all over again, Ben, what would you change?
I would change my way of thinking about this industry. That's what I would do. I would change my way of thinking. I wouldn't be so heavy on trying to buy leads or trying to, figure out, hey, I got to get to the customer. I have to figure out how to get in front of them. That's the key. And I think maybe it was the cost center mindset that got to me in the beginning. That's probably what it was, now that I think about it, being that, you're calling Linden Tree leads. You're calling the client directly. So my mindset was always client, client, client. So I wish I would have changed sooner in terms of my mindset of how to really be successful in the retail market. And that is to build relationships, but with the right people. And the right people are the realtors. The realtors are the right people, and not all realtors, but the right realtors as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. 100%. Yeah. I mean, you got to add that little asterisk, that
The right realtors,
because the wrong ones will run you dry. But I think that's just great. It's just like there's so many realtors that do business your way and the right way and are right for you, that the wrong ones don't matter. There's enough to get. And man, I agree with that. I think that's a great thing. I would have changed that too. I totally agree.
Yep.
Was there ever a time, Ben, you felt like giving up?
Yes. Right after PNC let all of us go, all of the field loan officers go, I thought, okay, this might not be for me. I probably need to look for a different industry. I probably need to redirect, do something else. That was the time I felt like giving up the most. Yes. Definitely a low point.
Yeah, man, when you were telling that story, I was like, oh man, this is like perfect for my last question. So
yeah.
All right, so I have one last question, and to set it up. There's a young Ben out there, and maybe they're the son of immigrant parents that came over here with nothing. Maybe they're washing dishes at $9.50 an hour. Maybe they're getting a 2.0 in college. Maybe they're in a call center environment where it's the Wolf of Wall Street, and everybody's just going nuts.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone looking to get it done?
My advice would be stick with it. If you're passionate about something, stick with it. Stick with it. Don't give up. The ups and the downs are a part of the process. Stick with it. There's been a lot of times in my career where I like I said, I thought this was not for me. I thought, hey, I'm not going to make it. There were times where I thought, how am I going to eat next month? Because there's nothing coming in. But in order for me to be where I'm at now, and I'm for me, this is only the beginning. I haven't even scratched the surface, in my opinion. But the reason why my trajectory is going there and going there at I would say at a super fast pace is because I just stick with it. I stick with it. I enjoy the process. There's something about the process that excites me. I like taking no's sometimes from realtors. Like I enjoy that. So you got to enjoy the process. There are ups and downs, but the people who are successful are the people who know how to overcome the bad times in their business and their life and everything. So to get it done, stick with it.
I love that. That's just fire. Stick with it, Ben the Banker. All right. I want to thank Ben for joining us today. I want to thank our audience for listening to Ben's incredible story. And Ben, if somebody wanted to reach out to you to connect with you, what would be the best way for them to do so?
Best way to reach out to me is on social media at benthebanker_ on Instagram, TikTok, and I just started a Twitter account because apparently I need that as well. So on Twitter as well. So benthebanker_ on all social media platforms.
All right, brother. That's awesome. Make sure you do that. And we'll also put some links to your social in the podcast description, as well as a link to that strategy call with Mr. Carl White and Mike Cardascia. All right. This has been the Get It Done podcast. If you've liked what you've heard today and you want to support the show, hey, do me a favor. Can you open up Apple Podcasts, scroll the way down to the bottom and tap that 5-star? That would be really awesome if you did that. And, send this to a friend, hit that subscribe button. All those things make a huge difference in helping us reach more people. Once again, I am Jimmy Ryan. This has been the Get It Done podcast. Thanks so much for listening.